Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host GamerK, and it's time for another video, and this one is so far out the realm of what I normally do that it's gonna be a little awkward. So, last year, I was excited for a new game by Square Enix, and I was gonna wait for reviews to buy it. Little did I know that, like most things that I'm one of two ways when it comes to games, shows, movies. Either I don't think it's going to be good, and then I get it, and then I try it, and then I enjoy it, or it looks great, and it turns out to be a massive bomb. And that can be said for Square Enix's 2021 project, Balan Wonderworld. Oh my god. I was excited for it because, you know, Square Enix, like, they've done Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts. How bad could it have been? Turns out very. This is one of the games where I've watched it thoroughly, and I have not played it. Yeah, I know, like, how can I talk about stuff I've never played? Because I'm not spending the money to buy this, to have it in my library, and then just delete it afterwards. I had to watch every bit of gameplay, every walkthrough I could find, every boss fight I could find, and this is a prime example where the art style is beautifully done, but everything else is trash. There's no story going inwards. There's no dialogue. Just gesturing hums and noises. The gameplay is bafflingly stupid. What was supposed to be a wonder world turned into an absolute shit show. And watching last year, or earlier this year, I showed my cousins a boss ranking video from this by a great YouTuber that I like to watch, Sunburn Albino. Go to his channel, because, yeah, the way he describes boss fights is hilarious. And what he did for this game was 100 times more funny than the actual game itself. So, inspired by making fun of these bosses, I decided, what if I reworked all the bosses? Reworked the levels, because, yeah, the gameplay is shit, because having to watch it, you can sense that it's crap, which it is. I mean, I've never seen a Square Enix game bomb this hard in reviews. And again, the art style is great. The character designs are great. Just the execution of it all is just terrible. It's god-awful. So why am I putting myself through this? Well, it gives my creativity a little turn, gets my creativity wheels turning on how this could have been great. And here's the thing to think about, guys. I'm a cheap Canadian production who has no background in game design at all. I just have the creativity to go with it. So if I can make these bosses great, what does that say about the staff who worked it? I'm not bagging on the staff. It's just, like, the problem with this whole game is someone had to think of it, jot it down, and get it approved, and have these animators and tech guys come in to work on it. And at no point during this sequence of events did anyone stop and just think this needs to be reworked. It just goes to show you that sometimes common sense is something that lacks in the adult world. So going back to the theme of the video, I'll be going over all 13 bosses in this game, what their worlds could have been, the characters that the bosses are based on, how the boss fights could have been a little bit reworked and everything. And normally when it's stuff like this, I would say spoilers, but considering there's no goddamn storyline, let's just get to it, guys. Starting off is our very first boss, and one I actually think looks cool. This thing looks great. Oh, another thing. This game wasn't just done by Square Enix. This was also done by the creator of some of the Sonic games. Let that sink in. Square Enix, Sonic, and it gave us this? This is another prime example where something with Sonic should have been reworked after initial release, and oh my god, enough. So I'll be going through all these bosses' names and what I would name them to make them a little bit more bossy and not so stupid. So the main theme of this game, if you can call it a theme, is certain people have struggles in the world. And then the villain, Lance, uses his tendrils to corrupt them with darkness and creates a monster out of them. Now, there are a couple things interesting with that, because it kind of has... It's kind of an interesting concept, but let's see. Negative emotions making monsters. Where have I seen that before? Yeah, these two really do it better than what this game does. Just saying. But here's the thing. All the issues that they go through aren't really anything. It's so childish of what the situations are. I mean, Miraculous has a bunch of bizarre ways people become have negative emotions to become akumatized. But even those make sense more than this. I'm not bagging on Miraculous. I freaking love it. I'm just making a point. And here's the thing. In some of these situations, when these people come into this world, is time stopped in real life? Because at certain points, it's like, so is the world going on around them, or are they frozen in time in their own section? And I'm going to get to that bullshit that's never explained, because I've had to look the information up for this, because it's also based on an online comic, somewhat of the same name, where there's actual story. And some things just don't make sense. So starting with the first boss, like I said, this guy looks super cool. I'm sorry I dragged off a little bit. That usually happens to me when I'm this flabbergasted about a game like this. So here, and all the boss names are just stupid as all hell. First off, we have Bartholomew. Yes. So his human counterpart, Josie, is a farmer who worked so hard to develop his crops, and then a tornado comes by and destroys all of his work, sending him into despair. Okay. But here's the thing. All these hub worlds that we're in, like each boss, because they're not all villains, none of them are villains, have their own world, and we traverse through the world doing lame platforms, lame enemy fights where the room will be locked, so we have to defeat the enemies. And all the costumes that we wear are pointless, because the whole thing is jump, jump, jump. Every single button is jump. But going to this boss fight is so lame. Such a cool concept. And also, it takes 3 hits each boss to defeat them. Yeah, there's no health bar, and all the special ways that you can defeat them with each costume are so laughably dumb, you would have to watch a walkthrough video to know what to do. And even then, I don't think you know what to do. So, after you defeat the boss, the characters are out of their negativity, and they start to see the bright side of what's going on. Like, he sees one bit of crop, and he replants. So, like, even a kid's show wouldn't use this kind of stupid, negative emotion moment. Oh, another thing could have been, like, he lost everything. His farm and his crop. Because a tornado just destroying his crop. Really? Like, so the boss name I came up with this guy is Whirlwolf. Combining whirlwind and wolf. I mean, come on, it would work. I mean, look at this dude. And for the boss fight, instead of just blowing tornadoes at you and jumping on you, he could do like Scar did in Kingdom Hearts 2 and went on all fours and had a hurricane like spinning around him as he's charging at you. And you would have to dodge him and make him dizzy enough in order to hit him for once. And then what they could have done is something like the Mr. Freeze boss fight. Once you use a particular way of damaging them, you can't do it anymore. So it would up the challenge. Even in a game like this. I mean, yeah, Puppeteer was kind of a kid game, but at least there was challenge to the boss fights. I'm only on the first frickin' boss, guys. And for the world, like, because they don't call the worlds anything, they just call them Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4. They just say chapters. They didn't come up with anything. The level name I could come up with this is Weathered Farmlands, because it throws into the aspect of the tornado and his whole farm work. And throughout the level, this is what should have happened in the levels. Have a little bit of dialogue. So let's say each world represents each character's fantasies, their goals and ambitions. And we meet them in said world. Oh, by the way, here's a picture of Josie, an old stereotype farmer. So we meet them in said world, but let's have it be like, what's a game where they do this? The World Ends With You, where they don't have memories of what happened. And we help them through the level. Not like an escort missions thing, but they're with us through the cutscenes after we get through each section of the level. And as we continue, they start to remember bits and pieces. And then only at the boss fight at the end of the game do they remember everything. And that's what sends them into a despair. And then Lance comes in and corrupts them and turns them into the negative to the Nega Monsters. And I'm gonna say this. We only see Lance once. The main threat of this game. And we see him do this only once with Josie at the beginning. In all the cutscenes, we only see him do it once. Because we find out what the trauma was in each character through cutscenes and emotional bits. But we kind of see the corruption, but at the same time, we don't. So, Whirlwolf, yeah, big missed opportunity, and it will huff and puff and blow this shitty level down. And did we need a dance break at the end of every boss fight? Really? I think the only reason it's there was so a sunburned albino could make the jokes that he did. Funny as hell. Second level. So we have a diver named Fiona who loves marine life. And she starts swimming with a dolphin. And then the dolphin accidentally knocks into her and she almost drowns. And then she's in the hospital and she doesn't want to swim anymore. And then the shadow of the dolphin swimming around her, indicating the corruption. Really? Okay, I guess almost drowning could cause some negative emotion and everything. So I guess that does count. But okay. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention before I continue on. There are two types of boss fights in this game. One where it's in a circular arena where you have to use all where every boss fight you need to use the certain costumes in order to do damage and patterns. But there's two types. One where it's in the circular arena, and two where it's somewhat of a linear track pattern where the boss is moving backwards and the platforms that you're on, the track is falling behind you. Something like that boss fight in the Super Mario World one where Bowser's in the car and he's going forward and you gotta dodge the bombs and stuff and the track behind you's falling. There's 3 bosses like that in this game out of the 13. Okay, out of the 12 because Lance's boss fight doesn't really count for that. But that's where this first boss fight is, and I would enjoy it if they did more with it. If it wasn't so bland looking. So after the negative emotions with her fishy friends, for a lot of finny fun. Ah, damn it, I can't believe I made that joke. Get it away. We have Angelica. Really? Whoever was in charge of naming these bosses needs to be fired. Although with the sales of Balan Wonderworld, I don't think that will be for long. So, I did put the picture of Fiona up for reference, right? Okay, good. So basically what's going on here is I came up with Floundra for the boss fight. And the boss fight could be really, really cool. Like for one of the suits, you can travel through water, and the water could be platform sections. So yeah, why wasn't water the whole platform? So you could walk on top of the platform as you're going towards the boss, and then when she releases attacks at you, you could dive into the water and dodge the attacks. It is so hard to keep track of what these bosses do that it gives me a headache. The level could be called the Darkened Depths, where it starts all sunny near the beginning, but as you go forward into the level, the water gets dark and murkier, indicating Fiona's fear of the water and the aquatic life there. See, little adjustments like that would have given a little bit better. Next up, we've got Iori, a girl who's at a what looks like to be a private school, and she's into entomology, the creepy crawlies, the bugs, the spiders, and everyone's scared of her because of the bugs. So she feels alone with her little creepy crawlies. Okay, a little girl at a private school without that many friends and her own weird hobby, that actually makes sense. The boss fight, Wormsworth, like this thing looks freaking badass. And they give it a name like Wormsworth? I came up with Arachnizect. Part insect, part arachnid. Combine them. And the thing is creepy as shit. This is what Bugsy from Pokemon wishes his team would look like. I'm kidding. I love Scyther and Spinarak. I really do love them. The level is bland. Like, it's a combination of the school and a forest. So, the name I came up with for the level would be Academy Woods. I was originally going to go Crawley Academy, but Academy Woods kind of has a little bit more ring to it. For the boss fight, because it's a combination, it could use its sickles to swipe at you because it's attached to the roof of the center of the arena. You could prevent getting trapped in the spider webs. Knock one of the pillars on it. That's one of the only actually cool ways to do it, because you gotta jump on the mushrooms and bounce off of its weak spot, which is lame. So yeah, if they incorporated more of that into it and have a health bar, it would have been a lot cooler. Yeah, I'm not going through every single character, like how everything's resolved, Because if you want to see that, just watch the cutscenes. I'm just giving you guys the specifics of what the bosses are entitled to. Next up, we've got Hayo, who is somewhat of an inventor who wants to create the next big thing in arrow travel. And I will admit, some of these do take inspiration from all the old classics, like the Wright brothers, and basically everything else. And then in his workshop, it shows constant failure, and then he gets into a psychotic break after failing so many times. And we have, I can't believe this is a name, Warvel Wright. What? Warvel Wright? Now you're not even trying to be a rip-off artist. Like, the name I came up with is Terroplane. So, terror and airplane. It works! And look at this boss. This thing looks threatening. Unfortunately, it was once again fallen victim to the same as Angelica's boss fight by being the linear style chase boss fight. And this could have been so cool. He could have flown around the area while shooting projectiles at you with his propeller arms, creating gusts of wind to stop you so you'd have to think on how to get through them and which costume to do it with. Sending his missiles back at him. Something to this effect, because this is such a cool flying boss. Like, if this game was better, he would be on my list for a flying boss. But no, Aeroplane crash landed. And the level could have been, considering his constant trying to build a new plane design of new aero travel, the Skyworks could be a cool level. Islands in the sky, each one with different plane parts in it, like engines and propellers, just to show his progress of failure in all the designs that didn't work. And it would be a pretty good platforming section with all the floating islands. And I like how in the level, I'm going to admit this, they had a flying whale with the island on top of it. So that kind of adds into the fantasy. This next one is beyond ridiculous. We have Sana, who loves the avian animals of the world and tries to build birdhouses for them in their habitats. And then big heavy industry comes in and knocks down all the trees and builds up a residential area, sending her into turmoil. I will admit, the cutscene where her negativity turns into a giant bird and flies out of the darkness is freaking cool. The boss fight is not. We have Cuckoo. Okay, I'm going to get straight to the point. This thing looks like a ripoff of Stu from Donkey Kong Country Returns. I played it once, but I watched it more, and yeah, I can obviously see some similarities. The name is interesting, so I went with Cuckoo, but spelled K-O-C-U. Yeah, K-O-O-C-U. Instead of C-U-C-K-O-O. I know it's just a different spelling, but it just adds a little something to it. The boss fight could have been so cool with this creepy looking bird where it pecks at you and you will have to time it right to knock the beak and leaving it vulnerable for damage. It will lay eggs and you will have to throw them. For some reason, its tongue gets stuck for something. I don't know. This is one bird brain boss fight that was really lacking. The level, taking combination of the development of new houses and the forest to be turned into the residential forest. Sorry, my throat. Next up. Okay. I want you guys to remember this next one, because it plays a little part into another level. A little girl in the streets of London finds a stray kitten and cares for it and loves it. I will admit, I do love stray animals, and I do love them. And then when walking one day, she hears a car accident, and she thinks her cat got ran over by a car. Distraught, she turns away and runs. Now, this is the thing that I don't understand about all this negativity. Does time around them in the real world stop? Because there's some things in here that if left unchecked, someone would have died. I'm just stating a fact. Just stating that kind of bit of information. So she's distraught and she becomes the Perla. This thing looks like Meowth if he was a psychic type. The name I came up with was Fearline. Okay, there wasn't that many clever cat jokes I could make, so sue me. And the boss fight does something cool. I mean, there's stoplights around the arena that are like cat's eyes. So I thought, like, depending, with each light depicts an attack of that she'll do. If it's red, she'll jump onto the light and pounce at you from above. Yellow, her hands could detach because they're kind of floating and start scratching around the arena. So you'd have to avoid them and get to her in order to cause some damage. And green, she would reveal her time turner's stomach and slow down time, where you would have to get behind something and wait for it to run out so you could go up to the clock piece and hit her stomach. Something like that obviously would have made this boss fight really cool. But again, what they did was kind of bland, but I did like the environment. So I decided to call this level Cat's Eye Streets. It's a little weird, but at the same time, it's still good. Now, I want you... Oh, also, I forgot the character's name. Meet Little Cass. Remember this character, because she appears again, which brings up so many questions about this game and the continuity of it. Okay, this one I thought, like, just from watching the cutscenes, I thought this was going to be one of my most favorite boss fights, because I love chess. Yes, even before Queen's Gambit, I liked playing chess before this. We're a grandmaster named Cal, who looks like... Okay, I'm making a lot of Pokemon jokes, oddly enough, in this video. He looks like... I can't even tell, but he just looks like he could be a gym leader. I'm just saying. So, he is a chess grandmaster who revels in his victories, and then he takes on a surprising newcomer, and it turns out he's put back into a corner where he loses. Now, I get this whole thing because it's done a lot in TV shows where someone is very well authoritative in a certain field. They kind of let the fame go to their head, and the minute they lose, they start acting irrationally. So he throws away his chessboard out the window. I think the negativity for that would be more like his own ego is bruised, so that causes his negativity of how could he lose. And then the negativity comes in, and we have Fortress Fur the Fourth. And it even comes with a little man who's inside the big suit of armor, which actually makes a lot of sense considering Cal feels small in compared to his own fame. Now, the level design for this could have been cool. The Checkered Kingdom, which would be castles all based around chess, and we would have to do chess mini games in order to solve them and to advance forward. And the fields of battle where we fight all the negative creatures, which I don't know what they're called, but they all look pretty cool, I will admit. Throughout the level until we get to the final, and it's this chessboard arena with all the chess pieces in the background as medieval pieces. And his attack moves are pretty fun. It reminds me of Kingman from Mega Man Battle Network 3. I never played it. I just watched it as a kid. Just gonna say, where he could send bishop missiles like he does. his rocket fists, having chess pieces come onto the board and slam and crack a bunch of pieces. So you will have to, what if a bunch of pieces, like in the last end game of the boss fight, he sends a whole bunch of chess pieces down and makes like a small little labyrinth on the chessboard. Well, you have to find your way out while the little guy is weak, and you will have to deliver the one final hit. I hate the name Fortress for the Fourth because it sounds so like you're trying too hard. I came up with King Checkmate. So simple. So simple. But again, I do love bosses like this because it's something I'm interested in, so it kind of makes it easier to come up with ways to defeat them and what the boss fight could go with. Next, we have the Grim Creeper. You can already tell they were barely trying, so here it is. Really cool design, I will admit. It's all ice and magic themed. Okay, I'm going to say this. If there's one thing this game gave us that I am thankful for, is the human inside of this Grim Creeper, which is a he, but the person is a she. We have Eben, a.k.a. the best-looking girl in this entire game. Look at this! If this was in any other good game, people would be cosplaying as her because it's the ice blue hair and the purple hoodie and the pink purple hoodie. She is easily the best character in the game. She doesn't have a voice, but I can almost sense Laura Bailey's voice coming out of this character if they were to make this into a better game or a show or something. I would love it. Seriously, look at this. Best girl in the game. And for people who like cosplaying as bizarre characters, this is what you need to do for Balan Wonderland. Wonderworld, my bad, whatever. Now, the story goes is that she was engaged to an amazing dude, and you could feel the love in the cutscenes. That's until her parents both die. Are we sure she's not in the Marvel Universe? So after the funeral, she gets cold feet, sort of. Like she's afraid of losing someone she loves again. So she kind of shuts out her fiance, and she grows cold a little bit. And she wants to take a chance on him before he leaves, but her heart is frozen afterwards, which indicates the ice-themed boss that we're gonna get. Now, this is another thing that I need to bring up. So, her husband is outside of the house, and he's starting to leave when she's trying to get out, but everything's frozen over. Is time for these characters stopped? Or do they go back in time and to the moment where things went bad, like Code Lyoko? Do we return to the past or something? Like, it's not explained. Nothing is explained, and that's why I'm peed off. But again, the ice arena with this creepy thing in the middle is so cool. And one of its attacks, where it creates an icicle steamroller where you have to go in between the sections where there's a gap and dodge it. Dark ice crystals could fall. A vicious blizzard could be released from its hands. Now, the Grim Creeper is a terrible name for a boss that's ice-themed. I came up with the Chill Creeper. Yeah, I just changed one name, but doesn't it sound a little bit more relatable to the character and to the story? The level design it's somewhat of a winter wonderland where couples would go, like ice skate, drink hot chocolate. There's a cabin, and there's a ski area which takes a long time to get through. So I call this place the Frozen Heartland because it has something to do with love and ice, so it kind of works. And having a frozen heart. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say it again. Eben, best girl in this game. And for my cosplayer friends who might watch this video, take notes. Take notes. Okay, the next one is where things, like, as I'm reading the story, I'm gonna explain this as simple as I can, and please bear with me because we only have like 5 bosses left. We have Attilo, who plays a clown in a fun fair, well, an amusement park. And he is always the fool, always making people laugh, and he falls for the girl who plays the princess in the parade, who is a teenage version of Cass, aka the girl with the cat previously. So this is years into the future, but we somehow meet her when she's a kid and meet her future boyfriend. So are all these people from different time trap eras, different moments in time? Like, it doesn't make sense. And because there's no dialogue whatsoever in the game, we can't test it or judge it. It's impossible. That's why judging this game on a story perspective it's like being blind and trying to depict a scene in Shakespeare by watching the play. You can't. That's why people judge it on the gameplay aspects, which it sucks at. The story elements, it sucks at, but you can't really compare anything. So Attilo is basically in love with Cass, older Cass, and he's debating whether or not to ask her out, whether it's going to go good, if it's going to go bad, and he's on a roller coaster of emotion, and it's done pretty well. And much like with Ibben's creature, she's a female, but it turns into a dude. This one is a dude, but it turns into a female monster. And we have Princess Mari, which actually I kind of like that, like merry-go-round or scary. I really like that name. And the boss looks something so freaking creepy. It almost looks like it belongs in the Shadows world of A Hat in Time, or for Luigi's Mansion boss. Like, it's the fortune teller, it's the princess fortune teller on top, and under the curtain there's a clown head, and it's got cannons for crystal balls and all that. It looks like it's a merry-go-round turntable, which really looks cool. But the name is pretty good, but I want to improve on it, so meet Princess Scarnival, combining the words carnival and scary. Yes, I know it's ridiculous, but I like this boss fight. For one attack, the princess could fire the crystal balls, and the clown head could create laugh attacks where it's the words ha 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 ha, and it's going towards you, and you would have to dodge it. And one of the attacks in the game is really cool, where they bring a spiked carousel horses, and it goes up and down and up and down and around and around. And the arena is a turntable too, so it will be turning clockwise and counterclockwise depending on which ring. That would increase a little bit of difficulty for the boss fight, so I would love it. The area I would choose for this, because it's the theme park and it's mostly at nighttime, and since midnight's the witching hour, I would call this place Midnight Park. It has the charm of the amusement park, but as you go further into the level, the scary and terrifying come out. That would be really, really cool. And now for one of the most ridiculous bosses ever, guys. Here is Lucy, who is an artist who is, I think, suffering from artist block, because it doesn't really show that. It just shows people looking at her art, and then people are leaving, and then she's in the painting, and then the people are in the painting of what she wants. So she's got some artist block, and this is the last time we see the linear boss fight area. And it's done in this kaleidoscope spinning kind of thing where the platforms are broken, so you might fall. And we get Inkabell. Look at this thing! It looks cool, and at the same time, they pick such a stupid name. And basically, the attacks are, it will create these paint creatures that you see on it and send them out to you. And then it will drop the paint can. You'll have to kick the can, hit the character, and then hit the weak spot. And all while doing this spinning kaleidoscope area, which I'll tell you right now, just watching the boss fight gave me a little bit of nausea. I'm just saying that right now. And I'm pretty good when it comes to motion sickness. So in terms of the boss fight, the name sucks. I would have gone with Brush Strike. Something artistic like that. And the level would be the Inspiration Zone. Basically, it would be like this little dimension area where it's all enclosed, and each area you will have to do like a paint puzzle, like fix the colors on the doors or fix the color areas. Basically, it would be like a monochrome area with just a hints of color, indicating Lucy's lack of inspiration for her art nowadays. And you would have to create your own art stuff by doing the puzzles in order to advance throughout the linear world. The linear, yeah, that would work. The Inspiration Zone, taking reference from the Twilight Zone and the Phantom Zone, where it's just that square kind of flat piece. So that would have been that would have worked and made this boss a real art attack. I'm going to hell for that joke, aren't I? Will you shut up? You haven't said anything all episode, and now you decide to make a comment? I'll pay you! Continue. Okay. This is where my suspicions that time freezes for these people until their negativity is gone. Yeah, this definitely confirms it. We have Eis. E-I-S. I think that's how you spell it. Who dreams of being a brave firefighter, so he enrolls in the academy. And we see the pride beaming from his eyes in the cutscene, which I get. A lot of rookies in anything have that. And then when an actual fire comes out, he's terrified. And there's a little kid trapped in a burning building. So this is why I think that time stops. Because if we took our time in this level, yeah, that kid would be gone. And I love to symbolize the boss fight. The flames spin and turn into a 3-headed dragon just to terrify him more. This is good imagery. And we have the Hydrak. You can see where this inspiration got from. My idea for the level of this place would be called Dormant City, which is basically the stages of a fire with the enclosed buildings, having it be dormant to start off with, like the cool hot lava being all rock, the buildings being stuck in between the crevices of the chasms as the fire cooled down. And as you get further into the level, the flames start coming and the lava starts spewing throughout the level, indicating, again, the levels, like throughout the beginning of the first bit of the level, it could be all good, like not so clustered, because that indicates Issa's feeling of pride. He believes he can be a hero, but then when the fire starts to come, it all rushes so quickly. Throwing a little bit of psychology into this game would have helped a lot of these characters, because there's a lot of psychology. A fear of fitting in, a failure, create an artist block, wanting to be an environmentalist, losing someone you love and you're afraid to keep that love again, taking a chance on love and if it will go well or not, being the top of your game and then being brought down so you feel like you can't do anymore. But the Hydrak, like having that bit of boss level design in the boss, and as you go, the fire gets hotter and the level becomes more of a platform section instead of an open investigation because the lava is going to kill you if you step on it. You know what? I got to hit it. It's playing the Archer Floors lava thing, right? Okay, good. Just making sure. But the Hydrak? Really? And this thing is so lame! It's a stationary fire hydrant with 3 dragon heads, and it spews fire a good majority of the times, and you will have to use the fireman costume and use its basic Mega Buster attack to fill in one of the holes, or to put rubble on one of the Hydrak's heads so it can't lift it, and then hit the main head. No! The name they should have gone for in this boss fight is the Hydragoon. Yes! Hydra and Dragoon. At least then the name wouldn't be so stupid like Hydrak. A great thing this boss could do is, with its 2 heads, it could spin its torso and have the flames start spinning out. So you would have to do a timing jump, and then as the 3rd one starts opening its mouth for the attack, that's when you shoot your water blast and gets the main head. Another way to damage it is... Actually, I have no clue. It's such a stationary boss that I can't really come up with a lot of things. But moving the rocks onto the head so the 2 heads can't get up. Shooting the water at them to make them dizzy. Yeah, that could work. And now we're at the final human character villain, or a boss fight. We have Bruce, who is a very old man who is constantly cleaning up the streets of the city after people keep littering and leaving their garbage all over the place. And as it goes on, after he does all the work, the next day it's all dirty again, and he feels like an invisible man, and that is basically a costume in this game. A majority of the costumes in certain levels are a reflection of the character's inconsistencies a little bit. Like, we got an artist, we got a fish, we got an insect, we got a wolf, we've got a propeller head, I think, we got a cat, a chess piece, and all that stuff that correlate with the bosses. And I wish they were done a little bit better. So after Bruce loses it, feeling invisible, he becomes Hoovertron. This thing deserved a so much better name. It's basically a robotic, cybernetic creature that is also a cleaning instrument. So he's going to try to clean up everything. And it can turn invisible and start attacking you, and has a plugs for hands where it can electrocute you. And its head, and its inside of its head is a vacuum, so it will try to suck you in as it's flying around the outskirts of the area. So this boss has barely anything to do with, and it will try to absorb some of the platforms because they're all like metal blocks. The name I think this boss could have is Cleansborg, because it's a cleaning instrument and a Borg, so a robot. One thing I think that could have been really done is, once it sets its hands into an area and tries to electrocute you, you use the Invisible Man costume and quickly disappear, so it will start scanning for you with its neck, exposing its where it would have to bring its chest out to the edge of the area in order to extend its neck, so it's searching for you. So you will have to quickly do it because the invisibility could only last a little bit of time. So you have to get to the torso and damage it. That's one way to damage it. The other could be sending its explosives back at it to some effect. The level is practically non-existent. It kind of looks ancient at the same way it looks cybernetic. So the level I came up for this is the Puzzled Ruins, which is basically like ancient ruins with old school stonework and ancient cybernetics. So you got to do a couple puzzles in order to advance throughout the level, indicating this was going to test your puzzle solving skills as well as your platform skills. And we finally have no, you know what? The final boss with Lance looks badass, but I'm just going to give it a couple things. One thing about this boss fight is that it had a problem in its final attack, which caused seizures for some people, so they had to tone it down in a patch. So after doing all the worlds, the final door will open where you can finally defeat Lance, the guy responsible for all this. And it's basically the other half of the main character, Balan. Lance, Balance. One's good, one's evil. Do you get it? The boss with him could take place in an area called the Negative Void. Negative and Void. Yes, I'm scraping at the bottom of Idea Barrel here, where we fight him as his normal play section, which basically looks like an emo version of Shadow the Hedgehog. So Mephius, basically, it's an emo Mephius, where he's basically his own thing as he's creating his negative monsters to fight you. And after that, he absorbs all his negative monsters, and he becomes this awesome furry dragon thing that he comes. And he'll have 12 eyes, which correlate to the 12 levels that throughout the game and the 12 people who he's trapped. And in the start of this part of the boss fight, he unleashes an ultimate attack that you can't dodge, which basically shows that you're weak until everyone returns, gives you their abilities, and you will have to take on each one, which would have been cool if each eye had a different color and it correlated to a different boss fight. So you would have to use that costume in order to destroy it, which would have worked if you couldn't only have 3 costumes at a time. I'm just saying, all of these boss fights were some of the most amazing design things ever, but the execution and playability of them was like, here's the designs of them, and here is where their execution was when it came to gameplay and concept for the boss fights and the characters in general. Every single thing I've mentioned could have made this game somewhat interesting if it had a better built story, a better built progression. But they decided to go something cheap, something simple, and what was supposed to be a Wonderworld turned out to be something super simple and clean. And it is not fun whatsoever. And thank you for joining me in this video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys have enjoyed my ranting about Balan Wonderworld. And I hope they learned their lesson. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and join me next week where I go into a new game review that's an old game, and it's basically a party game where we're having some nautical nonsense fun. This is Gamer K, logging out.